Good morning. In today's lesson we are going to look at ratios. To start, we're going to look at the definition of a ratio, which is a comparison of numbers. This comparison can be written in a variety of different ways, such as 4 to the 5 would be written like this, either with a colon, as we have over here, as a fraction, as we have it written over here, or with the word 2 as we have it written over here. If we look at this example, then the 4 would represent the 4 red squares and the 5 would represent the 5 blue squares. Another example of ratios that we can use with this example is if we look at the total number of squares, and we can write ratios of the blue to the red to the total, or blue to the total, or red to the total. With numbers, the ratio of red to blue to total would be 4 to 5 to 9, and the ratio of blue to total would be 5 to 9. Another way of looking at ratios is if we look at them in simplest form. If we take, for example, the ratio 9 to 12, and we look at the factors of 9 and the factors of 12, we see that 3 is a common factor, meaning that both 9 and 12 will divide by 3. And when we do this, when we divide the 9 and the 12 by 3, we get a new simplified ratio of 3 to the 4. So the ratio 9 to the 12 in simplest terms, or in simplest form, would be 3 to the 4. Sometimes when we're given a ratio, we're given two ratios where the quantities are, for example, minutes and seconds, or meters and centimeters, or millimeters, where both quantities could be changed to the same thing. Let's take, for example, if we have a ratio of 1 minute to 30 seconds. In this case, we can convert the minute into seconds, and we would have 60 seconds to 30 seconds as a ratio. These two ratios, the 1 minute to 30 seconds and the 60 seconds to 30 seconds, are an example of equivalent ratios. We can find the ratio in simplest terms by finding a common factor. In this case, it would be 30, because 60 and 30 both divide into 30, and we end up with a simplified ratio of 2 to 1. So if we look at the 2 to 1 in this case, we can say what it represents is that for every 2 seconds we have 1 second. So if we look at the 2 to 1 ratio, we can find equivalent ratios by finding any ratio where the second number over here is half of the first number. So if we take, for example, the number 30 to 15, this ratio, this would be equivalent because the second number, if I take the 1 multiplied by 15 to get the second number, take the 2 multiplied by 15, we get 30. Just another quick example, if we take the number 90, that would be, so half of 90 would be 45. This would also be an equivalent ratio. And the reason they're equivalent is that I can take them all and reduce them to 2 to 1. Take, for example, 90. 90 divided by 45 would give us 2, and 45 divided by 45 would give us 1. So these are equivalent ratios. And we can say that these equivalent ratios will reduce to, we can say that they will reduce to 2 to 1. And this 2 to 1 again takes us all the way back to when we started. We started out with 1 minute to 30 seconds. And we came down to 2 to 1. If we look at this, this would be 90 seconds to 45 seconds. This would be 30 seconds to 15 seconds. They could be converted to minutes, but then we wouldn't have any whole numbers. So take, for example, if we take this 30 and convert it into minutes, we'd have half a minute, 2, and then 15 converted into minutes is a quarter minute. Take 15 seconds and convert it into half a minute to a quarter minute would be equivalent to 2 seconds to 1 second. But once you get into fractions, these ratios become harder to work with. So we'll stay with questions where, in this case, we'll stay with questions where the ratios compare two whole numbers. So hopefully this will help you with your ratios assignment.